this video, I'm going to teach you about design thinking and give you an exercise right at the end to move your career, your venture, or your product forward. And if this is the first time that you have seen me, hello. My name is Sophia Matveeva and I am the CEO and founder of Tech for Non-Techies. And that's an education and executive coaching company that helps business leaders thrive in the digital age. So, design thinking. Design thinking was developed at Stanford, and it really is the core methodology behind innovative tech businesses, especially Airbnb and Snap, because the CEO founders of these companies, Brian Chesky and Evan Spiegel, actually started off their careers as designers. I use the design thinking methodology constantly, and it is one of the core tenets that we go deeper in at Tech for Non-Techies. And design thinking is a skill set that you need whether you are the one paying the paycheck or the one getting the paycheck. So it is useful for innovators, it is useful for employers, and it is useful for investors. So what is design thinking? In its purest form, design thinking is basically the application of how designers make products to making decisions in your career or in your business. So the first thing I want you to know here is that when we're talking about design, we're not just talking about making something pretty. So if you are thinking about logo design, that's not where we're going, because design isn't just about beauty. It's not even about making something durable. It's actually much deeper than that. Steve Jobs was obsessed with design, and he famously said, "Design is not just what it looks like and feels like. Design is how it works." Apple was the first tech company that had design at its center, and clearly it worked out for them. And remember, when the iPhone first came out, it was completely different to what was in the market. So it just had that one button, and everybody else, including me, we were using Blackberries. And that design innovation literally changed the world and made people who had stock in Apple extremely, extremely wealthy. So how do designers make something that looks great and feels great and also works well and basically makes everybody want it, just like the iPhone? Well, so to sum up, the designer's methodology consists of 4 bits. Number 1, research. Find out what problem you are solving and find out who is experiencing that problem. So who is your target user? That's number 1. After you've done that, you move on to stage 2, and that's prototyping. Prototyping is basically when you're making easy to make cheap samples of solutions. And then after you've made these samples, these prototypes, you move on to stage 3, and that's testing. You literally give those prototypes, so give those samples to your target customers, and you get feedback, you elicit feedback. And then after you've done that, so you've tested your several prototypes, then you move on to stage 4, and that's iteration. You basically change the prototype that is the most promising, so there will be one prototype that has the best results and that people basically like most. You get that, you get the feedback, you basically make it better, so you iterate, and then that's the version that you release. And you basically keep on testing, you keep on getting feedback for your product, for what you've released, and that is design thinking, that is design in action. This is literally what happens in the apps in your phones when they get updated. You know when you open an app and the screen is slightly different and you haven't done anything. Well, that's because the design and the code, they've been changed. So you see, I just want you to see that design thinking is literally all around you. It is happening in the phones, in your pocket, as you're watching this. This is why delving deeper into design thinking is such a core skill set if you want to be a successful leader in the digital age. And this is especially true for MBAs, because I've got my MBA from Chicago Booth, and I paid $180,000 for my MBA, so it was not cheap. But most MBA programs, they really do not prepare you for success in the digital age, and basically pretty much all MBAs apart from Stanford do not actually teach you design thinking, and yet they're charging you 180 grand, but that's another video. So my point is, If you didn't get your MBA at Stanford, carry on watching this video and take some notes. And by the way, from those 4 points that I mentioned in design thinking, you might basically think that design thinking is the same as agile development, and you're kind of correct because there is an overlap. Agile is more of how developers work, and design thinking originated from product innovation. And if what I just said went completely over your head, don't worry about it, because that bit is not life-changing, but the next bit is life-changing. So listen up. As I mentioned above, the first tenet of design thinking is research. This is where you define the problem, and without defining the problem and defining essentially what you're trying to solve, you cannot move on to the next phases. But this is where I see smart people getting stuck. And to be honest, this is where I've been stuck myself. So you can get stuck in research, and that basically becomes analysis paralysis. You know, like when you are listening to all the podcasts, watching all the YouTube videos, reading another book to try to find out what to do next. At some point, it becomes counterproductive, and also it's not fun. And that's what happens when you are making issues bigger than they need to be. So listen, for example, let's say you want to make a career change and you're not exactly sure what you want to do next. And essentially, if that's you, you want to research some sectors or some jobs and see what sounds appealing. So let's go a bit further. Let's imagine that you're a lawyer and you want to get into something in the innovative digital space, but you're not exactly sure what that means. Is it working for a tech startup? Is it working for a big tech company? Is it working in an innovation lab? Or maybe it's even starting your own legal tech business. You could literally do all of these things. And so you begin by doing some research and meeting some people and having informational interviews. And essentially, you're kind of going around in circles. You're speaking to all these people, you're networking, but actually your life is not changing. You're still working in a job that you hate. So you don't want to be a forever student. You don't want to be somebody who's constantly researching and then not taking any action, because also people just won't take you seriously. So how can we apply design thinking to get you out of this rut? What you need to do is you need to find the best doable option. So in this career example that I gave you, at first, there is basically lots of complexity. So it seems like there's lots of complexity. And in fact, there are so many apparent options that it feels overwhelming. So basically, you might not do anything. But let's really think about this. What are the options genuinely available to you as a frustrated lawyer right now?